Hi guys, welcome back to Donoram. I'm back after a short hiatus, a lot of overtime, working man blues, that sort of thing. I'm joined today by Luke.
How you doing?
And I, of course, am Beau. I realize I didn't say that yet. And I've made it a point not to look at the camera at all on any of these, and I've been staring directly into it this entire time.
Got to make that eye contact.
Yeah, here in the Midwest, when you talk to a man about Chinese girl cartoons, you look him in the eye, You don't try and sell them,
You just feel gay if you don't.
Oh, exactly. It's super, super unacceptable not to. But today, we're going to be taking a left turn. Normally, we've came and talked to you guys about video games. We have expressed an interest, as in Adam has told us, we're going to start talking about anime as well. So, and of course, the most important show to ever hit Netflix has hit it this summer. And I know a lot of you are thinking Stranger Things, but Stranger Things is literally just the same thing happening over and over again.
It is like three seasons of the same thing. 3
seasons of the exact same thing. So, which actually makes it very thematic for Indiana. Actually, I didn't think of that. That's probably on purpose.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about Neon Genesis Evangelion. Probably the most important anime, certainly of the 90s, perhaps of all time. And I've been an Eva fan for quite a while. It was actually brought over incredibly early in the whole anime craze of the 90s. In fact, I think it was like 1999 or 98.
Yeah, it was pretty soon after it was made, right?
Yeah, very soon after it was made. And it was a very interesting dub. It's a legendary dub. Even people that only watch subs will watch the dub of Eva. And but it's just now on Netflix, so there's a whole new generation, whole new people discovering it. And I believe, Luke, it was your first time watching it. And so what's your first impressions of it?
It was good. It had probably the best character development I've ever seen in an anime. I haven't watched that many anime, but...
Absolutely. And the most common criticism of Eva is one that I hate, and that is because this came out early in anime's exportation to the mass. Of course, we had Japanimation in the 80s and stuff like that, but when we started calling it anime and started becoming really more interested in it, this was one of the first ones that we got our hands on that was a really meaty one. And everyone was like, oh, Shinji's just a wuss. Imagine missing the point of something
exactly
by that far. Like, this is a realistic portrayal of what a 14-year-old would be going through all this. It's absolutely realistic.
Especially one who hadn't seen his dad for 3 years, and he just calls him up and says, come fight this war for me.
And whose dad is just absurdly anti-affectionate towards him. Did you watch End of Eva? Did you watch the movie?
Yes.
Okay, good, because it's been a little while, and I can't remember exactly between 25 and 26 and the movie, so that's good. It doesn't matter.
If I remember all of it, but yeah.
So how did you feel about 25 and 26? Just that or it's really 24, 25, and 26. That absolute tonal shift to absolute pure insanity.
So it was like jarring the first time you watched it, but I actually thought it was really good.
Oh, it's absolutely incredible, and it fits because a little bit of background. Hideaki Anno. Wow, Hideaki Anno. I have said it right every other time in my life except for now on camera. We'll just say Anno. He was actually clinically depressed during the making of the show. And the tales say that it worsened through the progression, and that when you're watching Eva, you literally see, because it starts off, this is a pretty basic mecha anime.
Right.
Junior high kid, he's got to save the world. He's a bit hesitant, but you know what? We'll make it work. The girl got hurt. He's going to be the hero.
Right.
And then as it progresses on, it's like, wait a minute, he has trouble connecting to people. Wait a minute, now there's mom issues. Wait a minute, now this thing is his mom. Wait a minute. It just goes absolutely incredible. And all those layers there, the AT field, finding out what the AT field was, it's incredible. If you're a fan of psychology, is it Jung or Young?
Young.
The Jungian psychology there, whereas I can't remember what the three represent. You've seen it more readily than me, and I'm sure you're familiar with the concept enough, but the ego, the id, and the superego. Asuka's obviously the id.
Yeah.
Like, that's 100% id.
For sure.
She wants everything right then or now. And I believe Shinji is because isn't the ego the one that mediates between the superego and the id?
I believe so, yeah.
So that would be Shinji, and then the superego would be Rei.
Yeah, I think so. I think that'd be right.
I could see that. And I always thought that was just absolutely cool.
I didn't actually think about that, but that's actually... Makes a lot of sense now that you say it.
Right, like that was one of the first things I learned about it, and that was even before I learned about the biblical illusions.
Yeah, there was a ton of biblical stuff in this.
Adam itself, the whole concept of Adam. He's pointing to a shirt that actually says Linville National Community Bank. So I'm not sure. Wait, is it his shirt says LNB Community Bank. So is it Linville National Bank Community Bank?
I think so. They just had to add the extra bank so you know it's a bank. Yeah, it might be Lincoln National Bank.
Oh, that's right. That's a thing, and that's a Spencer County only thing, I believe. But back to Ava.
Anyway, the biblical references. So like, the whole thing's just like a Bible story. It like starts with getting ejected out of Eden.
Exactly.
When they use their knowledge to find Adam and they just get kicked out. They destroy the whole world and get kicked out. And then it kind of moves on to a story about Shinji being Jesus. He's like put through the trials and tribulations of trying to save the world
and taking on humanity's sins, and that is conceptually why Gendo doesn't accept him, because at the literal moment that Christ took on humanity's sins, God could not perceive him, because God cannot perceive sin. He cannot love sin. So in the Bible, when Jesus says, Father, why have you forsaken me? It's because in that moment that him taking on, he was disconnected. So that's why Gendo...
That's interesting, because I...
be affectionate towards Shinji.
I actually saw Gendo more as a Satan character.
But could he not be both?
See, I saw him as the council being more like the god.
Oh, what was the council's name?
Orchestrating everything. Seela.
Sealy.
Yeah, or however you say that.
Well, then who's Kawaru?
See, I couldn't make up my mind about Kawaru. I don't know.
The Netflix. There's a huge controversy right now about Kawaru on the Netflix thing.
Yeah, I saw something about it
because Shinji says something like he said I was worthy of his grace or something, which is more biblical allusion, but it's a bit head on the. Whereas in the anime, I mean, in the original translation that we all saw, he said he was worthy of my love. It's all about love and stuff. He was the first person that said he loved me. Mm-hmm. And so everyone's upset about that because it's like they're making Kawaru less gay.
It was still pretty gay. I mean...
No, he was still extremely gay. And this is a legitimate concern because this hit Netflix in Pride Month.
Oh, yeah.
So any kind of, trying to make something less gay during Pride Month, that's obviously going to... I mean, that is for good reason going to ruffle a bunch of feathers. Yeah. But I always personally took Kawaru's, and I know we're all over with this, but this is the way we talk. I always personally took Kawaru, that sort of thing, was that he was actually showing Shinji unconditional love, and Shinji's a boy going through puberty and also through the most massive amount of trauma a person could possibly put through. So he mixes it up and perceives it. He doesn't know what it is.
Right.
So he perceives it as that, whereas Kawaru was an angel, as we found out.
Right.
So it was literally just, all that.
And it kind of was what Shinji was looking for the entire show, was
just unconditional love.
Acceptance from somebody.
Yep. And I would say the one that came the closest other than Kawaru was actually Masato, but Masato still actually needed something from Shinji. Mm-hmm. Kawaru was the only one where it's like, I don't need anything from you. I just love you.
Right.
But I think Masato, I think the show did a good job of covering how she actually regretted that. Yeah. She did need it from Shinji, but she wished that she could have just...
Masato was a really interesting character progression.
My favorite character.
Because at the beginning, Shinji was just like a tool to her. He was the only thing that could get the job done, so she was going to do what it took to get the job done. And so, like, that's why she had to move in, even, because she just thought he was unstable.
Right. She was like, I'm literally going to make sure this tool does what it needs to do for me.
Right.
And probably after the scene where she comes into the bedroom and she's in her bath towel and Shinji's just listening to the Walkman, which I don't know if the anime covers. I think it's only in the manga, but that was actually a gift from Gendo, that Walkman.
Yes, I don't think it sort of alluded to it being Gendo's, but did you watch the rebuild of Evangelion at all?
Yes, have you watched all three of the rebuild movies? The rebuild's where it really gets crazy. Yeah. Hang on, real quick. Are they a sequel or a retelling, in your opinion? I think they're a sequel.
I kind of feel like they're a sequel
because of Kawaru.
Yeah.
Because Kawaru seems totally aware of everything that had happened.
Right.
But and also the fact that the oceans are literally LCL. So the tanging has already happened.
Yeah, but
the world.
in those they do like flat out say it's Gindo's.
Oh, they do in that? Okay. Also, I really loved in the rebuilds how in 2.22, how... Are the rebuilds on Netflix now?
No, I just found them.
Oh, God, I was going to say. But I love how 2.2, everything seems to be coming up Shinji. Like, they do a really good job of like, dude, things are going well. Asuka's making him dinner.
Yeah.
Him and Rei are hitting it off as friends. There's no confusion there.
Right.
And he's about to... And I believe... was it Asuka that set up the dinner between him and Gendo, or was it Rei?
It was Rei. It was Rei because
So-
Asuka was like pissed about it.
Yeah. And he's about to have some good time with his dad, and then everything just happens at once.
Yeah.
Like, so I thought that was really cool. Whereas in the show, it's kind of this progression,
Slow spiral
toward,
into-
like oh man, the scene in the show. I think it's in episode 24 where we see Asuka locking herself in her room after the kiss with Shinji. Oh, that's powerful. Like, Asuka's got so many powerful moments in the show because, like, you spend so long thinking she's the confident one and she's literally just as messed up.
Right.
And you find it all out there.
That's
at the end.
like her coping mechanism
Right.
is to be better than everybody else.
Right. And when that didn't work out, like, or when I think she heard the voicemail between Kanji and Masato and she loses it.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Who shot Kanji? That's another good one. I think it's Masato.
You think it's Masato?
Mm-hmm.
No way.
I think it's Masato.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
I think it is because of the way she reacted to the voicemail.
I think she just knew he was going to get killed doing what he was doing.
Then who did it?
I think it was probably like Gendo.
Gendo's boring. Gendo's too boring of an answer.
I mean, he would have got somebody else to do it for him.
Might have been Ritsuku.
Could have been, yeah.
Yeah, that whole turn there with that character.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. Actually, I don't think she would have done it.
She strangled one of the Rei clones.
Yeah, but
not knowing that it was a clone.
She,
Wait, did she?
I think she did know it was a clone, but that was because she was having an affair with Gendo and she knew it was Yui.
But it was still a child. She
Yeah, but
strangled
it's
a
just
child.
like her mom.
Right, okay. But what? Yeah, you're right, nothing. Adam doesn't watch anime. I don't know that. Adam, have you ever seen a single anime?
Dragon Ball Z.
He quit Gundam Wing. Did you know that?
Yeah, I knew he quit Gundam
Wing.
Which blew my mind.
You lost what?
Outlaw Star.
Okay, he has watched Outlaw Star,
Yeah.
which Outlaw Star is a good one. It's pure like
It's just fun, really.
Tank Police is good and Tank Police is deep. It's not Evangelion deep, but it's really good. So yeah, I strongly think it was Masato. It's the most dramatic answer, which is the one the show would go with.
It is the most dramatic. I just don't think I don't believe it.
It's fair. That's fair. Interesting thing about all the biblical allusions. According to Anno, the reason they're even in Evangelion is because they just look cool.
Is that right?
There's a documentary you can catch snippets of on YouTube, at least the full version maybe on YouTube, but he goes back to the elementary school that he grew up in and he's answering these kids questions and stuff and teaching them art and everything, and one of them asked what's with all the Bible stuff in Evangelion. He's like, I just thought it looked cool. He's like, I'm not even sure what it means.
That's
insane.
really interesting because there's so much to think about there. Like,
Right,
even,
that's literally the central.
even the explosions are crosses. Like,
Yep. Exactly. Which angel was it where they literally had to take all the power from Japan?
the like pyramid looking one. I don't know what it was called. but
Ramiel. I believe it was Ramiel.
I don't know the names of any of them.
I don't think they actually say them. I think that's something you have to.
There's
look up.
there's a recap episode, and I think they name all of them in that. I just don't.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know what any of them are.
But yeah, that's the and to me that's like the biblical thing is like I remember the friends in junior high when the Ava thing was first hitting. I remember them just like scouring the Bible trying to find out what all this stuff means.
Yeah, it just makes you want to read it to figure out what the heck it's talking about.
Right, and there's several things that are actually in the lost books, so to speak, like Lilith.
Yeah,
and,
like Lilith. I was like, Lilith is a name I should know. Let's look that up.
It's in one of the lost books of the Bible. It's Jewish tradition, as they say, Hebrew tradition, where she was a failed woman before Eve.
what I was reading is that she was made out of the clay with Adam. So it was Adam and Lilith. And then she refused to be like subordinate to Adam. And
Right.
she got like kicked out or something.
Which is whoa. Didn't mean to get so. I know religion gets people mad, but I didn't mean to. But no, and that's why it's the failed
yeah,
woman.
I guess
'cause
so.
she
Yeah.
failed to which. Then we're getting to a whole other thing there, but
But that also brings to an interesting point about the show is that everyone is a descendant of Lilith on this planet. Mm-hmm. And so, biblically, I think Lilith's children are supposed to be like demons.
and they're killing angels.
Right.
See, there's just so much good stuff there. So you watched End. You watched the end of Evangelion. End of Evangelion's great.
It does give you like a satisfying, this is what Seela's plan was in the assault on Nerve.
It was literally it was literally revenge from Anno because of how upset fans were over the congratulations.
Really?
And I still think Congratulations is one of the most artistic endings in anime.
Yeah, I think that was a way better ending than...
Absolutely, and that's what he wanted. That was his vision. So then, End of Evangelion, in fact, that scene where Shinji's like going nuts and you see all the letters and stuff, those are death threats from his fans.
Really?
Yeah, he filmed death threats from his fans that they had sent him and everything, and he put them in the movie. And literally the whole movie is like, oh, you want some closure? I'll give you some damn closure. Like, watch this. Like, that's why Asuka has such a horrific death scene, because
Right.
Asuka is still to this day like an anime icon. And she's easily my second favorite character in the series. Masato, there's just so much there. Probably one of the weirder death scenes is Masato's in End of Evangelion.
I'm trying to remember how she died now.
She was shot and she got Shinji to the Ava unit, and she basically makes out with him and says,
right.
"I'll give you the rest when you get back."
Right, I forgot about that.
Because the series establishes that that's her strongest way of communicating affection. But this is a 14-year-old boy.
Yeah, it's just...
So it's just such a weird and odd death scene. And again, just Anno saying like, "Oh, you want more Masato, do you? Here you go." And of course, it's open to debate, but End of Evangelion is what's happening in the real world, while 25 and 26 are happening in Shinji's mind.
Right.
Is
That's how I saw it anyway.
the most common thing that people accept. And so Shinji has a choice to make. He could go through with instrumentality, or he could do instrumentality with a caveat that people who don't want to be a part of it can come out.
Right.
And then at the end, it's just him and Asuka. They're the only two that didn't want to be part of human instrumentality.
Was it just him and Asuka? They had... I was a little bit confused because it had them playing classical music together, and it was Rei, Asuka, Shinji, and Kaworu at the very end.
Oh, at the very, very, very end,
Yeah.
yeah. So the idea that the rebuilds are a sequel actually comes from the fact that people gradually came out of the LCL.
Oh, okay.
So, but at the get-go, the only two to outright defy instrumentality were Asuka and Shinji. And very interesting is when Shinji tries to choke Asuka, which that could just be the trauma of the moment. There's so many explanations for that right there. But she says pathetic or disgusting. I can't remember which one it is. But the Japanese line most closely translates to the feeling of sickness that you have when pregnant.
Oh, that's interesting.
So there's all this stuff, and it's great because Otto is just really good about like throwing things out there, just being like, you just chew on that for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to tell you what it means. You just chew on that.
He does that too, but then he like gives you time to think about it in the show, like that super uncomfortable elevator scene where it's Asuka and Rei in there, and it's just like a minute of silence of them going down in an elevator.
And finally, I feel like that's when Asuka is like, there's nothing to you. You're not. And Asuka, of course, doesn't know that she's
she
just
doesn't
one of
know,
a billion
right.
clones, but Rei seems to, and it's just this really awkward. The moment you find out that Rei is a Yui clone, and then you got to deal with the attraction that Shinji had held for her,
Right.
or was it attraction, or was it a subconscious recognition of his mother?
Exactly.
There's just so many great things going on in Ava, and one thing that we haven't covered is it's easy to talk about the psychology of Ava. but it's a shame too because we forget the absolute groundbreaking, beautiful animation going on in the show. This is still hand drawn anime. Gorgeous show. Absolutely, the action sequences. One of my favorite episodes. It's one of the cheesy episodes, one of the fun episodes. Which everyone gets mad about Magma Diver and the one where they have to learn to dance together. Everyone gets mad about those episodes. They don't understand that contrast is what helps us understand the impact of more emotional scenes.
Yeah, I really liked the teamwork one where they were dancing.
The dancing one. It doesn't make any sense that we're going to be so shocked and scared when they're choking each other and hating each other and sexually repulsed later if we don't ever see them having fun in the first place.
Exactly.
We need to bond with the characters in order to be heartbroken that they're losing their minds. So, yeah, and where they're learning to do everything together. I love the gif of the one scene where they're dancing on the twister and then Asuka winds up just beating the crap out of Shinji because he keeps messing up. And what was his name? Toji?
Yeah, his friend.
The one kid, and it turns out that every kid in that class
was a potential pilot.
Was just a potential pilot. Right. That's all they were there for. Just stuff like that, like,
and the fact that his sister getting injured in the first episode is like the reason he's the next pilot.
Right.
At least that's how I saw it. Anyway.
Right, and that was his because the AT field requires that you have experienced some sort of trauma.
Right.
The only one that we can assume hasn't is Ray, but there's, of course, tons of other stuff going on there.
Well, I also wondered if that, like, they don't really say what happens to his sister in the original anime, do they?
I don't think so.
Because I wondered if she had actually died and got integrated into the Ava that he piloted.
Right, because Asuka's was her mother.
Right.
Shinji's was her mother, and Unit Zero. I can't remember what the.
I don't think we really know.
Right.
I kind of wondered whether it was also Yui that was in there, but it doesn't really tell you.
Yeah. In fact, finding out that they're flesh. That was a huge thing.
Right.
Finding out that the Ava units are living things.
The armor's restriction plate, not armor.
It doesn't keep you out. It keeps me in. That sort of thing. But it's just so hard to like condense Ava. There's just so much going on there in just 26 episodes. Like, and it's and people forget this is an old anime. This is 1995.
Yeah, like 20
this
years.
Is older than Cowboy Bebop.
Right.
This is older than which reminds me, so it takes place in 2015, and one of the best times ever on 4chan before the fall, before everything went bad on 4chan, was on A in 2015 on New Year's Eve. The whole board was going nuts.
Is that right?
Because they were like, just heading over to my job over at Nerve. Hope nothing happens today.
I also like that it was Y2K. It was like the second impact was Y2K.
Was basically and a lot of people don't know this, but Sega was heavily involved in the development of Ava.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why Asuka, when she has her breakdown, she stays at what's her name? The class rep, the perfect girl. You know
I don't remember her name, yeah.
But she doesn't pilot at Ava, so who cares? We don't get like any actual trauma out of this girl. But Asuka, when she's over there, she's playing a Sega Genesis the whole time.
Was she? I didn't even pay attention. That's what she was playing.
And Sega's kind of got its hands in everything, and I didn't even realize it. Like, there's a whole lot of stuff. Like, there's an anime on Crunchyroll, Chain Chronicle. It's a fantasy anime. Sega produced it. It's supposed to be pretty good. Do you do Crunchyroll?
A little bit, yeah. I watch One Piece on there.
Yeah. My son actually told me he wanted to start watching One Piece, and I'm just like, God, it's like 900 episodes.
Yeah, it's forever long.
Constantly running since 99. That's incredible.
Although there is an end in sight, very far away sight, but there is an end in sight now.
I just can't imagine. How many story arcs has it been?
Oh, I don't even know. I couldn't count them.
It has to be one of those things where you can jump in at a certain point. Like, it can't, like, there's no way they expect people to catch up on this.
I mean, you can pretty well jump in wherever, and you don't feel like you missed that much, but...
I know. I think the only one that has more episodes is Case Closed.
Yeah, it's outdone Bleach, right?
Oh yeah, but One Piece and Case Closed both have easily surpassed Bleach. Which I mean, I think Dragon Ball Z has a lot of episodes. Like normally, when I'm looking for something to watch on Crunchyroll, once we're past 26 episodes, I'm
tapping out.
out. Like I don't. Although my son does want to watch through Sword Art Online with me. Did you ever watch SAO?
Yeah. The first one was good.
I can't remember because it's been a while since I watched the first season. I remember enjoying it, but I can't remember. Is it all right for a 9-year-old? I can't seem to remember. I know there's a weird scene with Asuna in Alfheim where those two things kind of like they get a little fresh with her.
Yeah.
Nothing happens, but that's an easily. I could see that approaching and I could skip it.
I think
I
might
think
be a
it's
little bit
okay
young.
otherwise, though.
Well, there's the stuff in the real world with the actual killer guy. I feel like there's some weird stuff there too.
I'll research it more before I let him watch it. But Ava's a definite no-go.
No.
Ava, like I feel like my friends watching it in junior high was a bit too soon, right? Because if you're the same age as the people in Ava, you probably shouldn't watch
No.
Ava.
No.
You need to be Masato's age or older. Because we saw how it turned out for her. She was still traumatized by
Right.
the end of it. That gif where it's Asuka when she rolls over on Kanji and she's like, "Oh, love me, Kanji," or something. And he shoves her off, and they add the subtitle like, "Get off, bitch. This is Gucci." The shirt's Gucci. It's Ava. It's just a lot to take in. But who was your favorite character?
That's a tough question because there's so many good characters. I think Misato is probably my favorite.
Yeah, Masato is just there's so much going on there, and the character growth of her going from this single-minded thing, learning about the necklace, that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's the thing where at the beginning every character is depressed. Like every single one of them has some aspects
Right.
of depression, but she actually grows out of it really.
Right,
Because she was like a super alcoholic at the beginning. Like all she had in her apartment was beer and
right
and frozen foods, right?
and Pingu.
Yeah, and Pingu. Pingu might be my favorite character.
Pin.
Yeah.
Pingu is the claymated.
Yeah.
So yeah, Pin. Yeah. The Pin might be the best character.
Yeah.
Pin should have been a pilot. Like imagine, like wait, but all pilots need to experience a trauma. But imagine a pilot who's experienced no trauma.
He's lost his entire habitat. What bigger trauma is that?
Yeah, I would have to say Masato. I actually think probably one of the worst characters saying worst character in Ava is kind of a weird thing because the worst character in Ava is still probably better than 90% of the rest of Ava.
Right.
But I would actually probably say Gendo.
I agree. He's a really flat character. Like he for how important he is, he doesn't really do that much.
There's a manga about him in his younger days that actually fleshes out the character really well, but I don't believe it's canon.
Okay.
With Gendo, one of the problems I experienced with Gendo was I remember after you digest the reveal that he's always loved Shinji and like he's always prioritized Shinji. After you digest it, it's good, but at the first reveal, it's kind of like, what?
You're like, no, he doesn't.
What? Like that doesn't make any sense.
No.
But after you digest it for a while, you're like, okay,
I guess so.
But I still think, and you have to understand, it's through his skewed vision of love because Yui absolutely ruined.
Right.
Like how he perceives he literally thinks the only way to stop being sad is to combine all of humanity
Yes.
into one single entity. So he has a skewed vision of what constitutes healing, certainly. But so yeah, I would say Gendo. I'm not a huge fan of Ritsuko just because she annoys me. Like great character, but she just gets on my nerves.
I liked her pretty well.
The
storyline with her mom and then the three magi. Like I thought that was super interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The I can't remember, was it one magi specifically, or was it all three of them were different aspects of her mother?
All three of
were
them
different
were.
aspects
Yeah,
of her mother.
like one of them
the
was
scientist, and this is one of the few symbologies in the show that she flat out explains. She
Right.
flat out tells you. Whereas all the other ones, so it's kind of funny. The one where they're least most emotionally invested in, Anno's like, yeah, here you go. Like, learn about this. But good luck figuring out Sealy. That's my Kawaru. That's my secret. I'm gonna take that one to the grave. He directed Shin Godzilla.
Oh, I didn't know
Anno
that.
did, yeah. Which is funny because like the memes about it were kind of like when Shin Godzilla was coming out, it's like rest of the world. Oh, cool! The Ava guy is directing Shin Godzilla. It's hardcore Ava fans. Where's 4.44?
Yeah, that's coming out next year, right?
Yes, it's coming out next year, and
It's only been 8 years or whatever.
Oh God, the memes where it's Ano, it's like, what comes after 3.33? Hell if I know. But so him and Tetsuya Nomura, of course, with the big gap between Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3, they were kind of like Japan's arch nemesis for a while. Like, hey, I've got this great sequel, and I'm just gonna keep it in my back pocket for as long as possible. So, yeah, really cool that you watched. I did not know that you watched the rebuilds. I love the rebuilds. I think
they were cool.
Great companions. I think the pacing, I like that the pacing changed from like, episode 1 through 6 in the anime. Hey, this is pretty standard mecha.
Right.
All the way to almost the last half hour of 2.22, we're watching a standard.
Yeah, it was just a rehash of the
mecha.
mecha. Yeah.
Boom, like all at once. Here comes Toji to fight Central Dogma. Shinji, you got to kill him. That's all there is to it. Like,
in 2.22, it wasn't even Toji, was it? Didn't they added like another character?
Well, Mari was added, but it wasn't Mari attacking Central Dogma.
Because I don't think Toji was ever made a pilot in the rebuild.
It's been a lot longer since I've watched the rebuild, since I've rewatched the series. So you're probably right. I can't remember. It was the military kid. It was the military obsessed kid.
As much as you would love to, no.
Right? Such an odd character for that show. Like he really does a good job of offsetting the rest of it because he's an anime archetype.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
And that's really cool to just throw that sort of cheesy and Ava. That's another thing we should say about Ava is archetypes in anime aren't like what we view as stereotypes. These things exist artistically for a reason. Mm-hmm. That's why there's archetypes. It's the same reason so many anime are about students, because that's something everyone can relate to.
Right.
That's why they do that.
It's kind of like the cicada sound every time to tell you it's summer.
Yeah.
And
Exactly. It's just a good tool. So they use character archetypes as tools. It's not the same thing as when we use tropes or stereotypes. There's an artistic reason they're doing this. But Ava still just threw all those on their side. And that's a huge thing. Like, Ava was the maturity of anime. Like, I really feel like it was when people were like, hey, we don't have to go to the theaters to see stuff like Princess Mononoke anymore.
Right.
We can have it broadcast to our TVs. Because anime's always been deep, but it was more of an OVA theater thing, whereas television anime was, the who they fighting this week,
Right. And, well, that's kind of like American movies and television, too. Like, for a long time, movies were like the premier dramas that had all of the character development and all that stuff. And TVs were just like, see us next week for a different episode.
It was the A-Team on TV,
right.
and it was, Schindler's List in the theater. But now, so that's a good point. Japan beat us to it because a man named Ano was suffering severe clinical depression, and he just happened to have a huge contract with Gainax.
Right.
Because he, of course, was a protege of Miyazaki, and they're just like, okay, do whatever you want.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he worked on Nausicaa.
Okay.
Yeah, as an animator. So he's basically walking around with that, and I mean, even just an intern that brought Miyazaki his coffee is going to command incredible, guff in that industry.
Got some clout, yeah.
So, a huge clout point. And what's funny is Ano's not really done anything since Ava. There's not really been any point.
Well, he's still been working on Ava, it seems like.
Right. But it's one of those things. It's kind of like what Metal Gear Solid was for Kojima for so long. It's
that's what I do.
This is where I am. But it's Evangelion sort of appeals that part of you that wants to read Kurt Cobain's journals. It sort of appeals that part of you. It's sort of like the mystique of just watching an artist who wasn't tortured in private, but rather tortured in a very public way.
Yeah, everybody knew about
it, but we're getting this good art, so we just sort of watch. And on that, by all accounts, he's better now. Like, by all accounts, which is super good. Yeah, like he got a hold of it and everything. And I don't think it's even been that big of a deal in Japan, or even to him. I think we Americans just perceive it as much bigger. Like, I think he handled it like a champ. But
maybe that's why the rebuild is less focus on the depression of all the characters.
And it becomes, right, because every character is clinically depressed in some way.
Oh, yeah.
And not in this Tumblr post is identifying how they were purposefully made that way.
Right.
Of course, because there's of course the famous Tumblr post of how each character in Winnie the Pooh had a mental disorder, which isn't true. I mean, it's hauntingly accurate.
Yeah, you can definitely.
But it's
draw
simply
comparisons.
was not in the mind of the creator at
Right.
all. Whereas in Ava, it
It
absolutely
was purposefully. Like they each
Yeah.
had their specific coping mechanisms that were part of their character.
Like Asuka is super open about her what is still developing, and she still doesn't quite understand, but still
She's
open
like
about it with her sexuality,
hypersexual
with
and
her
superiority complex.
And that's the funny thing is we're talking about a 14-year-old child.
Right.
That's what people forget when they watch this, and that so all the people that are Shinji's a wuss, stuff like that, like they're forgetting these are children. That's the whole point of the show.
Yes.
And it's sort of kind of even, poking in the eye of anime at the time of like, hey, these shows are about children.
Oh yeah.
Shinji's not any older than Hiro was in Gundam.
That's true. Although
He's not. But Hiro is just this, gonna get in my Gundam, gonna take down, that there's no 14-year-old in the world
they were
that
like
could possibly
conditioned
act like.
children soldiers,
But
right?
even still,
Yeah.
whereas in Ava, it's a much more Hito's doing everything but chewing tobacco and like slapping Zex's little sister. I can't remember what her name was. It's been so long since I watched Gundam, but I remember it's revealed that she's Zex's little sister.
Yeah.
He's slapping her on the ass and being like I know how to do two things. I know. It's just ridiculous. Whereas Shinji, it's there's another hilarious one where it's that scene where he's looking out the window in the classroom and they're like, it's Hedgehog's dilemma.
Oh
And
yeah,
say
they're
what
all
it
about
is.
the Hedgehog's dilemma. Yeah.
But there's a scene where they literally just doctored out Shinji and put in Sonic. And that was also on the if you remember for Smash 4, the one for Wii U, they had a contest for DLC. People voted on who they wanted DLC to be, and everyone that voted on Shinji kept putting it when they were talking about his abilities. Like, I don't know, he's probably fast. He's got Hedgehog's dilemma. But yeah, the Hedgehog's dilemma. That's actually a very interesting thing. The idea that we naturally want to be close to others, but we're also scared.
And I felt like that went with the AT fields as well.
Yeah,
like
the AT fields and the whole concept of instrumentality.
yeah.
The guy and. Yeah, just the whole thing with instrumentality and how Gendo had gone rogue. Mm-hmm. And we didn't really know that. Like, we were just like...
Yeah, like, you don't really understand what's going on besides the mech stuff until, like, halfway through.
It's not until 24, 25,
Yeah.
26. I think another one of the more impactful scenes is when Asuka is going crazy, when she's going nuts, and she's basically like, I hate Shinji, I hate Masato,
Right.
and then she says, I hate myself, and she just says it again,
Yeah.
and again,
And
and
you
again.
finally figure out that she's just projecting all of her feelings onto everybody else.
It's such a powerful scene, and the of course the scene where they see all the rays.
Yeah, and then Ritsuko just ends them all at the same time.
All at the same time, and then Gendo shooting Ritsuko.
Yeah.
Gendo shooting her.
I forgot about that even. And you find out that she was having an affair with him too, just like her mom was.
Yep.
That was crazy.
It's absolutely not, and just all these people that Gendo's absolutely used.
Oh yeah.
And that's another thing is when he says, "I actually always did love Shinji. Like everything I did was for Shinji." It's just so hard to believe because it's like you've used literally everyone else in your life. Like, but after you have time to digest it, it starts to make some sense. But for the most part, yeah, he's just a gigantic bag of shit. He really is.
He really is the Satan character, I feel.
But also the God character. Like that's that dynamic working there.
I'm going with just Satan. I don't know.
Another good Kawaru would probably be a God character because he was again the only one that loved Shinji simply because he
also
was.
had a very Jesus feel to him as well.
Yep. And so the I love you Shinji, and of course Shinji not being able to process that and confusing it for so many different things.
Right.
But Kawaru literally just meant I just want the best for you, Shinji.
Right.
And he's just like, well, that doesn't make any sense because no one else does.
Like, why would you do that? I don't even want that for myself.
Right? Like, I don't want the best for myself, so why would you? The little bit of break here because Adam's leaving. It's really disturbing the podcast, and it's unprofessional. See you guys.
Be back in 20 minutes.
Okay, 20 minutes. He lives really far out there. But yeah, and that's sort of like sort of brings me around to like it's an extremely psychological anime, but it really is very accessible if you just want to pay attention to it.
Yeah, there's like I feel like there's like 3 stories going on. There's like the surface level story of it's a mecha anime, they're fighting angels, and anybody can watch that and enjoy it. And then there's like a second layer of like biblical stories that are intertwined in there. And then there's like the third level of like the psychology of each character and what's going on and how they're
and the psychology, and it's very young. It's not like I feel like a lot of the psychology students I knew in college would probably like watch this and be like, but like Jungian psychology, certain like Freudian psychology. I just hear that like a lot of people that are into it nowadays aren't really into those two guys. They're more.
Yeah, they kind of fallen out of favor.
Philosophers are more into.
They
them
still
now.
talk about them in like intro psychology because they're important guys.
Right, like what they did for psychology is what they did to psychology is more important than what they did for it. I think at this point, but philosophers still love those two guys, especially Jung. I've literally never heard his name though. I've only read it, so that's why I asked you at the beginning whether it was Jung or Young.
It is Young. Yeah,
Germans.
I don't even know what nationality he was.
I feel like he was German. Freud was German, wasn't he?
I mean, it makes sense. There were a lot of German scientists back then.
Yeah. Have you seen the thing where it's German people don't name their kids Oscar? This anime sucks. Which of course she's a quarter Japanese.
I didn't realize that.
She's a quarter Japanese through her mother.
Okay.
And her
Did you see that this is so mainstream now that a presidential candidate tweeted out a picture of Asuka with some messages on it?
What? Which candidate? Was it Yang?
No, it wasn't Yang. It wasn't Yang.
Damn it. I wanted it to be Yang so bad.
Is her name Marianne Williamson, I think? The one who was like high as a kite during the debates, and you had no idea what she was saying.
Adam actually had his daughter with him, so we're probably going to open up a bit more now. This sweet girl. I don't want her hearing too much about it. Presidential candidate that tweeted Ava. Hold up. Let's find out about this.
Yeah, she's all like, let's just
she's the
hold
Reddit
hands and.
Oh, this sounds good. So I'm guessing she wasn't in the one with Yang and Biden and all them. She was in the one the night before.
Yeah, she was the night before.
Yeah, the night before. Yeah, those poor guys. Dude, how cool is it that Yang was in the big one though? Like, how cool was that? Like, turns out the guy that's offering the neat bucks is going to be pretty popular. He sort of embraced that sort of meme mentality too in his campaigns. I am not endorsing a political candidate. I just think Andrew Yang's a fascinating person. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, he's super interesting.
I'm not telling you guys who to vote for, but I mean, probably Yang. It'd be cool to see. It'd be cool to see. Actually, I saw a thing the other day where he actually went off on like paying college athletes. He's like, look, we injure them. They bring in a lot of money to the university. Like, they deserve to be paid. Like,
oh yeah, I mean they pay for like all the sports themselves, plus all the facilities that they use and extra. Like it's insane how much money they make.
Oh yeah, which we're huge college sports fans in the Midwest. I think college sports might be bigger than professional sports in this specific part of Indiana.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Absolutely.
IU is bigger than anybody else.
Yeah, IU. What's very well, actually, in coming here though, the closer you get to Newburgh and stuff, UK is just as big.
Yeah, as you get to the border, you start hitting Kentucky people crossing over,
but I would say that Tell City is certainly an IU city.
Yeah.
I would say that it certainly is.
Absolutely.
Apparently, Trump did something with Ava.
Really?
No, it was clickbait. But I could see like one of his aides being like, "Hey, this is a really cool show."
Oh yeah,
boss.
just gotta throw in this meme to get some votes.
Those 4chan guys like memes, right? They like me. They like memes. That was sort of a Ronald Reagan Trump hybrid. Is Gendo Trump? Can we do that?
Oh, Gendo is way smarter than Trump. Like he can't even.
The best part of this is we could actually talk about this now because Don and Adam aren't here to be like, he's gonna watch this later, and I'm gonna get a talk too.
Probably.
I said something about people that voted for Trump on one, and he was like, hey.
We might want those people to watch us.
That's what it was. Adam is not Adam's extremely an apolitical person.
Yeah, he is.
But his concern for what offends and doesn't offend people is pretty funny. Probably one of the but he, his line of work, he's a professional guy.
Yeah,
I work on a factory line. I could get arrested for having my dick out in public, and I still go to work on Monday. Like, they wouldn't care. But I think if I got arrested though and missed work.
Oh yeah, if you missed work, you'd be in shit.
Because an arrest is not an excusable absence. No. I've literally never been arrested before in my life. I would be so uncomfortable getting arrested. Like, I wouldn't
even know what to think about it.
Because the thing is like in the back of your mind, you'd probably be like, "Hey, don't say nothing." Like anything you say or do. But I feel like I would stammer
just start talking to him.
So if you guys seen Ava, who's your favorite character? And then I say Masato's my favorite character. Like, write that down, George. We can use that. So Masato's your favorite, like, in court. That's an interesting pick, Mr. Weber. That would depend on what you were arrested for, because if it was like any charge of like public indecency or something, Masato would just hurt you like hell in court. Gendo might actually help you. They'd be like, you know what, this is a straight shooter. He knows what he wants. He goes for it. What Ava character would make the best president?
The best president would be the three Meiji.
The three. I can't argue with that. That's no Kawaru.
Kawaru would be pretty good.
Kawaru would be the best president. That's a fun. We've never really done that on Don. We need to ask Don who the best president from KOTOR would be.
Oh yeah,
he would say Atris, but it'd be fun to grill him and make him say something different because his gut reaction would be Atris. But Gendo. Actually, another good point. Gendo is who Thanos wishes he could be.
Yeah.
Because Thanos' whole thing was like the strongest decisions require. What is it? The toughest decisions require the strongest wills or something like that. But like his argument didn't hold up water. Because like anytime anyone brought up something that was like, hey, this is stupid. Because
he really just wanted to kill all these people.
Yeah, just make more stuff. Just make more stuff. Or you got the time stone. Just go back and keep tighting around. You wouldn't have to worry about everybody else.
Just make people eat half as much. Like have food be twice as nutritious.
The sky is literally the limit with what you can do. But he's like, nope, gotta kill him.
No.
But like with Gendo, like it's open that he's psychologically damaged. Like it's not something he's really trying to hide. He's like, because they're like, hey, is human instrumentality really going to be best for humanity? He's like, don't care, just want Yui back.
So speaking about the guy that's helping Gendo the whole time, like what is his deal?
He loved Yui too,
right? And he just goes along with all of Gendo's craziness.
He's going to be with Yui, and it won't get in the way of Gendo either. They'll all be with Yui.
I guess so.
That's how I always took it. I can't remember his name, but
he seemed like he was supposed to be like the sane guy reining in Gendo.
Was the one reining
but then
in Gendo.
When you figure out what's going on, you're like, well, this is pretty insane still. Yeah.
He's the Cheney of the situation. It's fun getting political on Donnerum. It's a whole world, and we're cut off from it. Like, come on. Like, we could do a lot. Like, the KOTOR 2 one. Well, Don kind of did. KOTOR 2, if you haven't listened to KOTOR 2, it is Don and his I think one of the most emotional moments of my life was Don thanking you guys for listening at the end of that. Like, he has held in 32 years of wanting to talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, but, so yeah, that was his deal. I always took it as just, I could finally be with Yui, and like, when the ghost Ray is going around collecting people in End of Ava, like, you sort of see that sort of last moment of acceptance, like, wait a minute, hey, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And of course, another impactful scene is when Ray's like, oh, would this help? When she's talking to Shinji and she turns into Kawaru, and Shinji's like, that does help.
I forgot about that too.
Because even Ray needed something out of Shinji, but Kawaru, of course, just needed Shinji to be him.
Right.
So, and Ray, of course, it's incredible that she needed something out of Shinji, and that must have really messed him up because Ray literally emotionally needs nothing. Because she doesn't have any desire. So that's That probably messed.
She acted that way, but she really needed like everything.
Oh, that's a good point too. Like that's a super good point because women. I'm kidding. No. And Ava. Another thing is it's anime, but there is a ton of fan service. We talked about that before we started filming.
A ton of fan service.
In fact, I don't know about the Netflix one, but in the original translation, Masato, when she did the coming up on the next episode, she would literally advertise when there would be fan service.
Yeah, I don't know if they had it on Netflix because it like skips you to the next episode before you get to the end.
I know anime fans that would be pissed about that. Like, hey, you watch the coming up on the next episode. Even if it's a streaming service where the next episode's 5 seconds away, you watch that.
Right, but in the rebuild, they still had that, even in the movies.
Right, yeah, even in the movie, yeah. But what's really interesting in this is it's anime, and anime gets dogged on a lot for its portrayal of women.
Yeah.
Not undeserved at all.
Oh,
I want to be clear about that. There are some things they could do better in their portrayal of women, but Ava was some very mature portrayals of those women. Like Masato, the slut character, wait a minute, there's a deep-seated psychological reason for her being like this.
A lot of the fan service had purpose in this, which is like unusual for fan service. And
the fact that they went there with Masato to explain why she was like that, like it made her a super sympathetic character.
Exactly.
And even Rei, who was and Rei and Asuka, it was interesting seeing them portray, like, because these are kids going through puberty, so they're feeling all these things. Mm-hmm. But it was awkward to watch all these things because they're children.
You felt the awkwardness that they felt. It was
that's what I was getting at. It's like it didn't portray, like, I know there's people that sit there and watch those scenes with Asuka and they're like, but it's like, you're really not supposed to feel like that. This is supposed to be making you uncomfortable. So it's insane.
Like the scene where Shinji's bringing over the security card to Rei, and he like walks into her apartment,
and he falls on her. And of course, it's an extremely awkward adolescent moment. It's not like a normal anime where it's like, and then like they got the ghosts coming out of their face and stuff like that, which are funny. Those are funny.
Yeah.
But in this one, they sort of they went there a little bit, but then drew it back to make it more real. Mm-hmm. And it was just an extremely awkward moment, and doubling the fact that he was still confused at this point as to what he was feeling towards Rei, which would turn out to be a longing for his mother,
right?
Who he was riding inside of all this time in the Ava Unit 1, and got to see it go berserk a couple times at that point.
There's also an interesting thing about her being inside of that because Shinji kind of did the same thing. He went like completely integrated with the Ava at one point, but he was brought back by Misato, right?
Yep. And
so like there's nothing in the world to bring Yui back. Like she didn't care enough about all these people to come back. Like
exactly. Like there, and that's another thing is a really good point, and you brought that up, and I think only one other person I've ever known has, and it's not really something I've really thought about that much, and that is we learn a lot about everyone's motivations but Yui.
Yeah.
Everything we know about Yui is from someone else's perspective, and as we learned in this show, those could be very skewed, very different things. Like, what if Yui was a complete cold-hearted, just monster of a person?
Right.
We wouldn't know.
No.
We have no idea who this woman is, and that's very interesting because everything hinges on people's relationship to her.
Right.
All of it. Even the people that didn't know her are being influenced by this relationship everyone else had with her. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's... and going back earlier, I've said it before, but I asked you who your favorite character was, and mine's definitely Masato. I think she's the like best one to follow through the series, and she kind of is the she's bigger than this, but she's kind of the C-3PO and R2-D2 of the series, in that we kind of experience it through her.
Yeah, I feel like she like represents humanity in the biblical story. Like
and it's well, I should say R2-D2 and C-3PO in the original 1977 film, because the rest of the series they sort of went a different way. They're the comic relief, but they do a good job with it though. And there becomes no comic relief in Ava at one point. In fact, we just stopped seeing Pin entirely. Like he's just not there, because it's like, well, we can't really.
There's just, you can't put a funny moment in the middle of this.
Which is funny because anime is extremely famous for being able to wedge a funny moment anywhere.
Right.
But Ava, it just got too serious too quickly. And I think the most maligned part of Ava, the thing I don't like, is is people's criticism of the congratulations scene, because I thought that was literally the best way to end it. Like, we don't know what's going on in the outside world, because that really didn't matter when you really get down to it. What's going on in Shinji is what matters the most. And that was finally his moment of,
It, like, wrapped up the whole depression thing, too. Like, he finally realized that making connections with people is what you have to do. Like, you don't exist if you don't have connections with other people.
Exactly. And it's not easy to do.
Yeah.
It's not, and it hurts a lot, but it's just like, it's like anything else. He grew up, basically.
Right.
It's basically growing up. And I still kind of choke up when Gendo does it. I still kind of choke up when it gets to Gendo. Like, it's kind of like in Dragon Ball Z when Majin Vegeta's dying.
Oh.
And he's like, "Hey, Kakarot, like, hey, listen to me, all right? I messed up real bad." And you're like, "Don't do this, Vegeta."
Oh no, you're a bad guy. Don't do this to him.
Well, no, I mean when he finally realizes that he did bad, and he's like, "Look, like, man, Boo is a horrifically underrated saga.
Yeah,
it really is." The Gohan training and gassing himself up all that time just to get smacked down by Super. And what I hate is people always say, "Oh, that just shows how much of a wuss Gohan." It's like, no, that was meant to show us how bad Super Boo was.
Right.
That's another thing is I still feel like Americans aren't really getting anime when they watch it. I think Ava's the most glaring example of that.
I think a lot of people that watch anime don't think about the deeper storylines under there. It's just the surface level stuff.
Exactly. And that's so like in Dragon Ball Z, they're just watching Gohan get beat up. They don't understand that this scene is meant to tell us how bad of a threat Super Boo is.
Right.
They don't understand in Ava that you're watching a show about a child's psychological breakdown and redevelopment.
Right.
They're watching a show about giant robots. The Gundam Wing is literally about the futility of war.
Right.
There's just so many now. Those people really need to watch Outlaw Star. That really is just about a bunch
Outlaw
of
Star is.
like,
I think that's why so many people like it so much.
Which I like Outlaw Star. It's
good,
fun to watch, but it was sort of like so I just imagine someone in Japan watching Cowboy Bebop, and he's like, "I'm not having fun anymore." Like,
let's do Cowboy Bebop, but just fun.
Let's take out all that jazz bullshit. But yeah, which Bebop's another legendary anime. If you haven't watched that, like, just go back and watch these legendary '90s anime. Like,
I do need to get around to watching Bebop.
You haven't seen Bebop?
No.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's the Pink Floyd of anime.
I watched the dub of it, and the little kid voice, like, it drove me nuts.
See, that's another good point about Ava. Is people always say subs or dubs. With me, it depends.
Yeah,
depends on the anime. Dragon Ball Z, I will always watch Dragon Ball dubbed because I do not like that Goku's the same voice when he's 5 or 50, because it's that same woman the whole way through in Japan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so in the subs, it's that same woman, and his voice, she literally does the same voice. So whether Goku's 5 or 50. It's this high-pitched, shrill thing. I don't like it.
So I watched Super with subs because the dub wasn't out yet. And I really liked the voice for that one. But if I hadn't watched Dragon Ball with it,
that's what I mean, is you're watching Kid Goku, but he's... Hey, by the way, Super's coming back.
They're going to make more?
They're going to make more. It didn't get canceled. It just lost its time slot. And it was kind of like, hey, we're giving this time slot to someone else. Do you mind moving? And it's kind of like, oh, we're Dragon Ball. We're not going to move.
I didn't know that.
We'll just go off the air. Like, we're not going to do that. So they're coming back, and I'm super pumped. The manga's been going.
Oh, okay.
The manga didn't stop, from my understanding. But did you watch all the way through Super?
Yeah.
So Super, I think, had the best arc in Dragon Ball, period. Zamasu.
It was good.
Zamasu is incredible. Zamasu, you almost forgot you were watching Dragon Ball. Like, it was that good. Like, and I love Dragon Ball, first off, but it really is a surface level anime. It really is. I mean, there's certain things, but on the whole, it's a surface level anime. But like Zamasu was like, whoa, like we've got some stuff going on here. But so it's coming back. But the dub of Ava, I prefer so much more, and a lot of international fans do too. And one of the biggest reasons why. Like I said, she's my second favorite character. I think she's super important, and that's Asuka. And the the English voice actress for Asuka actually speaks fluent German. So the parts where Asuka is speaking German seem natural.
Yeah,
and
they
flow.
Are you talking about? You're talking about before the Netflix redub, right?
They didn't change the voices for the Netflix redub. Did they?
I don't know. I've never seen the other one, so I don't know.
So this might be the same thing. But the German parts are great, and whereas in the Japanese, when she speaks German, it's really like. It's like an arresting, like she'll be like, instead of just being like "Gott" or something like in the middle of her sentence, it sounds like basically you go from listening to like, Indiana Jones, the bad guys in Indiana Jones, to listening to Zizek talk about stuff like who of course is a, native German, I believe German's his native language, but it's very arresting when he goes to it. Like, it's like, because everything he says is arresting because it takes so much effort for him to say anything. Zizek would love Ava. Like, he does all that pop culture stuff all the time.
Maybe
that would be so cool for him to like psychoanalyze Ava, like, because he did a brilliant one with They Live.
Really,
that's brilliant. Like, basically that I mean, it feeds into his whole philosophy. The glasses and They Live.
I've never seen that one, so I don't know.
Watch They Live. It's a great movie. If you like John Carpenter, it's right up here. It's basically what happened was he made Big Trouble in Little China. Huge Hollywood production. Everyone hated it. They panned it. Ridiculous. It's a fantastic movie. Watch it. But he was still making it in the style that he always made movies. And the world just wasn't ready for that as a big Hollywood production.
Okay.
So he went back to independent film after that and made They Live. And basically, it's the story. Roddy Piper plays the main character, and he finds glasses that lets him see the truth. He puts on glasses, and advertising says what it really means, and he finds out the whole world's controlled by aliens.
Oh, wow.
But the whole thing's a metaphor for the bourgeoisie, basically, is what it is. So, Zizek had a field day with that. He would have a field day with Ava. It would be great, especially the sexual repression aspect of it. Like, and another thing, I think that was it sounds like a joke to say this because of how people perceive Ava, but I really feel like the sexual repression was maturely handled. Like, I really feel like that was good because honestly, there's a huge school of people that say this. I agree with them. I actually think that Shinji and Asuka had a legitimate affection for each other.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They had a legitimate what we would normally see as the feeling that would lead two children of that age to become boyfriend and girlfriend.
If Asuka hadn't been so like combative and like pushing him away after pulling him in, like they totally would have been a couple. Like, that's
what I mean. Like in a normal lifespan, these two would have been dating in school.
Yeah.
It was just the circumstances and the trauma and everything, and I think that was so maturely portrayed. Like, and I don't think It's Crazy just wasn't crazy in this show. We didn't watch the fucking Joker.
Exactly.
Like, this was like, and that's another thing is the Joker's been around for 80 years and to an American audience. We've had time to portray this character maturely. Anno did it in 26 episodes.
Yeah.
And we still got fucking, we live in a society Joker. So DC Comics couldn't do legitimately 80 years.
Yeah.
Well, what Anno did in 26 episodes.
Not that they were trying the whole 80 years.
Oh, but. No, they're selling too many of those, like Harley Quinn and Joker t-shirts. Yeah. That's like every king needs his queen. Shit you see very commonly around here. But they got to get that Juggalo market, bro.
Oh yeah.
They got to lock that down. The new Joker movie looks awful. Speaking of psychological works of art,
I haven't really seen anything about it.
Oh my god, it's Joaquin Phoenix. It's just.
Yeah, that's all I really know about it.
He needs to just stop. Walk the line. You should have just stopped and walk the line.
I just see Joker pulling out a guitar and singing country. Like
looking at his brother's grave. It should have been me. But so yeah, that's what's the most impressive thing about Ava is the mature handling of these characters. Yeah, it sounds like a joke because the way people perceive it, but it isn't. Like, this is like
you could see people that are actually this messed up, they would act the exact same way.
Even in the first episode, Gendo using Rei, like, look what happened to her, Shinji. That's because you didn't get in the robot. Yeah, she's hurt because you didn't. It just even that, like, just from the get go. When they go to visit Yui's grave, and Gendo literally just like shows up for like 5 seconds. Like, he just walks up there with Shinji.
Right.
And Shinji's talking to him the whole time, and Gendo's just staring.
Like, yeah, I have to do this.
Right. He's like, well, I gotta go.
Yui's waiting for me in the chopper, so.
But that's Ray. I know what I said, son. Oh, that's messed up.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know that any of the Ray clones ever got to adulthood. We don't know that.
Oh. Well, I mean.
It stands to reason, but we don't know that. Every single one that Ritsuku shut down,
They were all kids.
they were all 14.
And assuming they take like a normal period to develop like a regular human being, they couldn't because it's only been like 15 years since the impact.
True. That's very true. So, they're not clone troopers. The clone troopers
Right,
grew
the
like,
accelerated, yeah.
The how many Rays have you produced? 100,000 with 1 million more on the way. Obi-Wan Kenobi shows up. I'm assuming you're here about the Yui clones. That's why I'm here.
Yes. Tell me about that.
Tell me about that slave one's waiting all gassed up. But yeah, so that's extremely messed up. The fact that he wants to be so close to Yui, he's going to bang this 14-year-old clone. Right. That's
and like he thinks it's Yui so much that he jumps out and burns his hands trying to get her out of the cockpit.
Yeah. And even though he thinks it's Yui so much, even though he knows for a fact he's got a billion sitting downstairs in Central Dogma.
But she's the only one with a soul. The rest of them are just dolls.
True, but isn't it stated that he can just put that in one of the other ones?
I think Ritsuko basically makes the point that none of the other ones got souls, and they're never going to have souls.
Oh, no, I do remember that now, yeah. So that's another interesting thing is out of all the ones that have ever been out, Shinji got to meet the real one, and maybe that explains why he was feeling the way he did, even though he couldn't interpret it, because, of course, he couldn't understand what he was feeling, because it's insane to think that you would run into a clone of your mother that just happened to have aged to the point that you're at currently.
It made me wonder if Shinji was a clone for a little bit, too, but I don't think he actually was.
I think that would be just a line that Anno wouldn't do. Like, turns out, like, you know, it's much more better for us to find out they're all psychologically damaged than everyone's clones.
But, like, for them to be the same age, they had to start cloning
immediately
Yui before Shinji was born.
Yeah, because Shinji was like 2 or 3 when Yui died. Yeah, because Second Impact, of course, was in the year 2000.
Right.
They
had the worst Y2K possible.
Also, another the Hank Hill would have been really scared of that one. One of the best episodes of the greatest anime of all time, King of the Hill, was the Y2K episode. But what's really fascinating, dealing with Second Impact and everything, is when you're slowly like, they keep talking about Second Impact, and when you slowly realize what First Impact was, that was cool. Like, I feel like that was a cool discovery to make.
So I just assumed the First Impact was like the dinosaurs getting...
Yes, okay. That was the First Impact.
Did they like explicitly state that, or I just kind of assumed?
It's strongly implied. Almost everyone's come to that. It was an impact. It was a literal impact that changed the course of...
I guess they do kind of say that because they just called the second one an impact because they lied to the populace
about what had happened.
Yeah,
yes. Which is that's just crazy too. The sort of the misinformation thing, because there was like almost no one left on Earth. Like, that's another thing. Yeah. There was like almost nobody left. And that's basically, we've talked a lot about this, but if you haven't seen Ava, it's on Netflix. You're out of excuses. That was what I posted when I first heard the news, that it was going to be on Netflix. Like, everyone I've been bugging about the show, there's no more excuses. Because I know you're sitting there watching Stranger Things, even though it's the same damn... Have you watched season 3 yet?
Yeah. It's still good. I still like it.
It's good. Like, I've watched, like, when I watch TV, if it's not anime, it's because I catch snippets over my shoulder while I'm playing video games while Ashley's watching it. If it's not anime, I don't want to watch, like... I still haven't seen a single full episode of Game of Thrones. I know a lot of what happened because I see it happen, but I will say this much. I called the bad ending of Game of Thrones. I called it.
How early did you call it, though?
I stopped watching at the Red Wedding, and that's when I called it.
Oh, that's a pretty good point to stop. Yeah.
Exactly what happened, but I was like, the Iron Throne's going to go to either no one or someone we don't care about That's what's going to happen.
It was a good call.
I can't think of anyone that fans cared about less than Bran the Broken.
Oh, yeah.
I can't, like...
I can think of people, but...
They tried really hard in those last few episodes. Like, oh, look, he's having a conversation with Tyrion about how he doesn't want power. Oh, I wonder what that could be foreshadowing. Like, they got really heavy-handed and dumb. It got really,
yeah. We'll leave that for some other time.
That should be you and Dawn actually doing that podcast. But if you haven't watched Ava, go watch it. It sounds like we've ruined things, but experiencing it firsthand.
I think we left a lot of mystery in there that you could still watch it.
We could have done a 24-hour podcast and covered Ava.
Yeah.
So Adam's still not back, but I'm out of gas.
I think we can wrap this up. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to wrap this up. We're just going to get Adam to edit it unless we do something real hilarious in the aftermath.
We can just stop it right now.
Yeah, we'll just stop right now.